Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Beneath the velvet surface of the sea, far from the bustle of sunlit shores, the water turns thick and slow, like the silence in a cathedral. There in the arms of the tide, the jellyfish move as if time itself has forgotten to rush. Their bodies are barely bodies at all, soft bells of translucent flesh, pulsing gently in rhythm with a world that breathes slower than ours. They float without urgency, drifting not by will but by a quiet surrender to the ocean's hush. No skeleton, no brain, no resistance, only motion, soft and pulsing like a sigh beneath waves. These are not creatures built for power. They are made of almost nothing, a whisper of tissue, a veil of water, and yet they have lived in the ocean longer than fish, longer than trees, longer than bones. For over 500 million years, jellyfish have moved this way, in slow spirals in moonlit tides, their lives ruled by rhythms older than time itself. As the moon tugs softly at the tides, it also pulls on them. Some jellyfish rise with the moon, climbing through water in a silent vertical dance. Others drift downward as darkness thickens, drawn into deeper shadows. This pattern, known as diel-vertical migration, is the largest daily movement of life on Earth. Billions of creatures rise and fall in the water each day, yet no one hears them move. No feet touch ground. No sound marks their passage. Only light, hunger, and instinct steer their ballet. Their bodies shimmer not with color but with translucence, ghost-like, ethereal, glowing faintly with light stolen from sunlit plankton or produced from within. Some species pulse with bioluminescence, flickering faint blue trails in the night ocean like constellations underwater. Others bear long, streaming tentacles that curl like ribbons in the deep, each thread laced with tiny stinging cells, cnidocytes, silent weapons that paralyze small prey before drawing it close. But violence here is quiet. The prey, a drifting copepod, a planktonic fish, is enveloped without sound, consumed in the hush. Even the act of feeding looks like floating. There are no jaws, no chase, just the slow drawing in of energy from the sea, a ballet of necessity without fury. Sometimes their presence is invisible until a diver's flashlight catches the glimmer of a bell, or until the sea blooms with thousands of them, pink, clear, blue, arriving with a current like petals on the wind. These blooms can turn oceans into living clouds. Some last only hours, others stretch across miles. No one commands them. No leader calls the dance. They appear, they vanish, as if answering a signal too soft for humans to hear. To watch them is to see time slow down, every movement a meditation, every pulse a prayer. The jellyfish do not seem to swim so much as surrender, rising and falling with a grace that makes clocks feel foolish. They are dancers with no stage, no music, no audience, only the moon, the tide, and the ancient rhythm of the sea. And though their movements are soft, the science of their bodies is intricate. The bell contracts through a ring of muscle, sending a pulse of water behind. Then the bell relaxes and they glide. Repeat. This propulsion, called jet propulsion, is among the oldest forms of locomotion in multicellular life. Efficient, silent, effortless. Their nerves form a loose net. No central brain, only scattered clusters that respond to light, to touch, to tilt. And yet they navigate. They know the surface from the deep. They sense the difference between day and night. Some even have simple eyes, ocelli, that detect light and shadow. Others, like the box jellyfish, possess more complex eyes that can form images despite having no brain to interpret them. What do they see, these brainless creatures? We don't know, but they respond. They move toward or away from light. They adapt. They live. And sometimes they drift into human awareness, not in poetry but in alarm, stings, blooms, invasions of warm coastal waters. We fear them sometimes, misunderstand them, but to the ocean they are ancient citizens, not invaders, not pests, simply part of the slow ballet that has unfolded for eons. Imagine yourself there, floating beside one. The world is thick with salt and silence. A jellyfish pulses beside you, its body catching the light like a drop of time. You do not speak. You do not need to. You both belong to the water for this moment. Two soft lives adrift in an ocean older than breath. Close your eyes now. Let the memory of jellyfish drift across your thoughts like silk, soft, timeless, floating through the folds of sleep. Let's drift deeper now, below the shimmering veil where sunlight fades into dusk. Here, the water cools and the world turns blue, not the bright blue of sky, but the heavy blue of silence. In this stillness, jellyfish move like memories, echoing through the water with an elegance that science is only beginning to understand. Their bodies, so delicate, so see-through, hold mysteries not just of movement, but of time, adaptation, and survival itself. In the world of the jellyfish, age moves differently. Some species are fragile ephemerals, living only days or weeks. Others, like the moon jelly or the lion's mane, persist for months, their bells growing larger with each passing tide. But one kind, a tiny, nearly invisible being called Teratopsis doana asterisk, holds a secret that seems to break all rules. When injured or old, it can collapse its adult body and revert, not to death, but to youth. Like a story flipping back to its first page, it transforms from medusa to polyp, starting over as if time were water it could swim backward through. Scientists call it biological immortality. No one knows how many times it can do this, but the idea shimmers in our minds like light on water, a creature that doesn't end, only begins again. And still, jellyfish do not know this in the way we understand knowing. They do not ponder their cycles. They feel the water, the dark, the hunger. Their knowledge is in their rhythm. They respond. They persist. They follow the oldest instructions written into life: float, feed, drift, rise. Beneath their bells, a curtain of tentacles trails like silk threads in the current. These threads are both delicate and deadly. Each one is lined with cells that carry tiny harpoons, nematocysts coiled under pressure, ready to fire in less than a millionth of a second. The speed is mechanical, not conscious. A brush against skin and the harpoon launches, piercing prey, delivering venom. It is one of nature's fastest movements, hidden in one of its slowest creatures. And yet even here there is grace. The sting is not personal, it is not aggression. It is survival woven into lace. The jellyfish does not chase. It simply drifts and waits and allows the ocean to bring its meals close. Small fish, crustaceans, larvae, creatures no larger than a thought are caught, stunned, and drawn inward to the mouth. The process is slow. Often, the prey continues to move inside the tentacles, trembling, before it vanishes into the jellyfish's folds. Above them, boats cut fast lines through water. Below, the jellyfish knows none of this. Its awareness is circular, local, immediate. Some species gather in spiraling swarms, their movements uncoordinated yet strangely synchronized. Others move alone, solitary travelers on long currents. And still, their presence connects everything. Jellyfish feed fish, nourish turtles, even draw seabirds and sharks when they bloom in mass. And when they die, their bodies sink like soft snow, feeding the bottom of the sea, layer by layer. Scientists call this process the jellyfall, the gentle rain of dead jellyfish that brings carbon and nutrients to the deep. In vast, dark plains where little else reaches, these silent falls can be feasts. Crabs, worms, brittle stars, all gather around the soft carcasses, pulling apart the last of the jelly's glow. Even in death, jellyfish move the world. Even in silence, they speak. And now imagine the ocean warming just a little. A few degrees here, a longer summer there. Fertilizer flows from rivers. The water grows rich, then poor blooms of algae collapse of fish. In such places, jellyfish often rise. They do not need much oxygen. They do not need hard shells or specific temperatures. Where other creatures fail, the jellyfish often succeed. Their numbers swell. They arrive in harbors, drift into power plants, gather on beaches. Some see this as a warning. Others as a return. For jellyfish are not new, they are old. Older than the reef, older than bone, older than time measured in years. They are ocean written in liquid form. Children see them first with wonder, then with caution. We learn to admire them from a distance. Aquariums suspend them in round tanks, chrysals, where currents swirl gently, keeping their bells from bumping the hard glass. There they pulse slowly, endlessly beneath colored lights. Visitors whisper, cameras click. But the jellyfish moves as it always has, not for us, not because of us, but because water calls it forward and backward and always inward. Their reproduction, too, follows a strange loop. Many begin life as polyps, tiny stalks clinging to rock or shell. These polyps bud off new jellyfish in stacks, each one popping free like a petal on the wind. Others spawn in open water, clouds of sperm and egg released without meeting, fertilization happening by chance. A few species carry their young inside, nurturing them for a while before release. But most do not parent, do not nurture. They give, and then the sea decides. And in this giving they endure. Their numbers rise and fall with the currents, the moon, the seasons. Their bodies glow with borrowed light or carry within them bacteria that shine. Some even fluoresce, emitting light when touched. This light is not fire. It is not heat. It is chemistry and beauty and mystery wrapped in softness. And it has become a tool for science, for medicine, for understanding. From a jellyfish called Equorea victoria asterisk, scientists isolated a protein, green fluorescent protein or GFP, that has transformed biology. By attaching GFP to other proteins, researchers can watch life glow in real time, neurons firing, genes switching on, cells dividing. From the soft pulse of a sea creature, we learn to see inside ourselves. A jellyfish, silent and adrift, gave us a lantern for the body. And what else might they teach us? In their strange anatomy, in their eternal drift, in their moon-drawn movements, what lessons wait? Perhaps about resilience, about surrender, about how to let go and still remain. The jellyfish does not resist the tide. It does not demand. It is carried, and yet it lives. It stings, but only when touched. It glows, but only in darkness. Its softness is not weakness. It is design. It is wisdom shaped by water. Now close your eyes again. Picture a jellyfish rising slowly through indigo depths, its bell pulsing with light, its tentacles trailing like whispered thoughts. The sea is quiet. The world above does not know it is here. But here in the dark, a soft ballet continues, movement without music, grace without witness. And in that motion, the ocean breathes. Let us sink now to the quietest part of the sea, where light cannot follow, where the pressure folds around the body like a deep embrace. Down here, among the cold and slow currents, jellyfish still drift, some no larger than a fingernail, others stretching their tendrils longer than a blue whale's body. In the hadal zones, beneath 6 miles of water, their bells still pulse in the dark, luminous and serene, continuing a story that began before the continents took shape. Time does not hurry here. Even decay moves like meditation. The jellyfish remain, as they always have, carried by the hush. And it is here in this final stillness that we begin to see them not just as animals but as poems written in tissue. They have no voice, yet their bodies speak of patience. They have no destination, yet their paths shape ecosystems. They do not think, yet they survive. And in this gentle contradiction there is something profoundly instructive, something tender, something human. Their transparency is not just a trick of light, it is their nature. They wear no armor, they carry no bone. Their walls are thin, their defenses simple, and yet they have endured extinction events, ice ages, shifts in sea level and temperature. They have outlived the trilobites, the dinosaurs, the mastodons, not through strength but through softness, through being less, not more, through flowing with change instead of resisting it. The ocean, too, is a keeper of softness. We often imagine it as violent, stormy, immense, and it is. But it is also yielding, it cradles, it carries, and jellyfish, more than any other creature, seem to understand this. Their entire body is water wrapped in membrane. Their direction is chosen by currents. Their life is a long listening, a participation in something larger than themselves. When we look at them long enough, it becomes difficult to tell where the jellyfish ends and the sea begins. In aquariums, they float in circles. People press their hands against the glass. Children point. The jellyfish do not notice. Their loop continues, around and around as though the tank is the moon and they are caught in its gravity. But in the wild, their loops are not so neat. They wander, they vanish. They reappear where no one expects. To study them is to be comfortable with mystery, to follow without knowing, to trust what drifts. In some places, fishermen dread them. A sudden bloom can clog nets, sting divers, shut down coastal plants. Yet these blooms are not attacks, they are symptoms. Signs that something else has changed: the warming waters, the overfished predators, the shifting nutrient lines. The jellyfish simply respond. And in doing so, they reveal the health of the sea in a way we cannot ignore. Their silence becomes signal. Their softness becomes message. Biologists now trace their lineages, discovering branches older than bones. The comb jellies, once grouped with true jellyfish, have shown different ancestry altogether. They move with rows of beating cilia, tiny hairs that ripple rainbow light like prisms under moonwater. They are not true cnidarians. They do not sting. And yet they too perform the undersea ballet, drifting with elegance no engineer could replicate. Nature is generous with beauty, even in places we rarely see. The moon still pulls at them. Even in captivity, many species pulse in time with lunar cycles, as if the memory of tides is written into their cells. This connection, moon to water, water to jellyfish, reminds us how deeply linked life is to the rhythms we forget to notice. Some scientists believe jellyfish use lunar light to time their reproduction. Others think it's magnetism, gravity, temperature. But perhaps the truth is simpler: they feel the pull. They rise, they fall. The reason may not matter. What matters is the dance continues. In labs, researchers now study jellyfish movement to design robots that swim softly, without sound, disturbing nothing. These soft robots could explore coral reefs, monitor fragile ecosystems, glide beside real jellyfish without causing fear. Engineers admire what the jellyfish do without effort: slow propulsion, high efficiency, silent travel. The future of our machines may be modeled after the most ancient of movers. But no machine can replicate what happens in the quiet of the mind when you truly watch a jellyfish. Not on screen, not in a diagram, but in the water beside them. The way they pulse with such patience. The way their trailing arms write cursive across the sea. You start to breathe slower. You start to feel weightless. You begin to understand that life doesn't always need direction to be beautiful. It doesn't always need ambition to be meaningful. There is a lesson in their lack of rush, a wisdom in their suspension. In a world that spins ever faster, where every second must be filled, the jellyfish reminds us that presence is enough, that being is sufficient, that drifting, if done with openness, can carry you where you are meant to go. They do not fight the current, they feel it, and they move with grace. Even their sting carries mystery. The box jellyfish, one of the deadliest animals on Earth, delivers venom that can stop a human heart, and yet it is nearly invisible, a ghost in shallow water. Scientists now study its venom to understand pain pathways, cardiac response, even possible treatments for disease. In the jellyfish's most feared feature, there may be a gift. Even the sting can illuminate. Some jellyfish leave fossil traces, delicate impressions in stone, records of softness etched in time. Others leave no mark at all. Their passing is as silent as their life, but whether remembered or forgotten, they continue. Somewhere right now, beneath a moonlit tide, a jellyfish is rising slowly through the sea, its bell expanding and contracting in slow conversation with the deep. No one is watching, and yet it continues. And so we return to stillness, to the final drift. The jellyfish does not close its story, it simply continues the loop. There is no beginning, no end, only motion and waiting and the sea's soft embrace. When we imagine the first creatures of the world, we think of struggle, claws, teeth, conquest. But perhaps the first true success was this: to float, to yield, to be soft and survive. Tonight, if you listen closely, you might hear them. The hush of bells beneath water, the quiet rhythm of the undersea ballet. It is not loud, it is not urgent, but it is there, always there, unfolding without audience, without applause, beneath the waves. Let your breath follow that rhythm now. Let your thoughts drift like a jellyfish, slow and light, no need for direction. You are in the water, you are carried, and all around you the sea continues to dance. In the twilight waters where coral shadows stretch long and the sand shifts with secrets, A creature stirs with grace that defies the shape of thought. It is the octopus, a being not built of armor but of possibility. It does not walk. It does not swim in the usual way. It pours itself through the ocean, folding and unfolding its arms like flowing silk. With each movement, it rewrites the idea of form. The octopus is not just alive, it is fluid, a mind made of muscle and mystery, dreaming beneath the waves. Its body is soft, no bones, no barriers. It can slip through a hole no larger than an eye, squeeze between coral crevices, and vanish into cracks where even water hesitates to pass. Its arms move independently, each lined with hundreds of suckers that taste and feel and grasp without needing orders from the head. In truth, most of the octopus's neurons live in its limbs, not its brain. Each arm thinks for itself, sensing texture, testing pressure, deciding direction. It is a creature of distributed intelligence, a mind spread like mist through flesh. When it moves, the octopus does not simply go, it flows. It changes color, texture, and shape in a heartbeat, shifting from rock to ripple to shadow. Its skin is alive with chromatophores, tiny pigment sacs controlled by nerves that flash new patterns at will. With these, it can vanish into coral, mimic a predator, or send silent signals to a mate. Some patterns mean danger, others mean readiness. Some may mean nothing at all, just the octopus expressing a thought the ocean can almost read. Scientists have watched them solve puzzles, open jars, escape tanks, even decorate their dens with shells and stones. In labs, octopuses grow bored. They pull lights from the ceiling. They squirt water at researchers. They rearrange their tanks as if designing underwater rooms. And in the wild, they do more hunting with strategy, hiding with precision, learning from what they see. Their eyes are large and dark, always watching, never blinking because they have no eyelids. Instead, a gentle membrane slides across, softening the gaze of a mind always awake. No other invertebrate behaves quite like this. The octopus belongs to no easy category. It is a mollusk, yes, like a snail or a clam, but it thinks, it plays, it remembers, it dreams. When scientists filmed an octopus sleeping, they saw its skin change colors rapidly, pale, dark, rippling with waves, suggesting not just rest but REM sleep, the stage where dreams bloom in the brain. What does it see in those moments? A remembered hunt, a coral cave, the taste of shrimp, the glide of current. We do not know, but to dream is to possess an inner life, and that changes everything. To be near one is to feel the presence of another kind of mind, not a lesser one, not a copy of ours, but something old and other, shaped by a different world. While we walked the land, the octopus grew wise in water. Its ancestors crawled the seabed before fish grew bones. Its body tells a different story of evolution, one where softness is strength and thought flows like current. They live alone, most of them, tucked in dens built from scavenged shells and coral. They peek out with cautious eyes, arms curling gently at the entrance. Some decorate, arranging shiny stones or crab shells like artists of the reef. Others remain hidden for weeks, only emerging when hunger calls. And when they hunt, it is with the grace of a whisper. They glide near, then strike with sudden precision, arms enveloping prey, suckers locking in, beak closing fast. But always the moment begins in silence. The octopus breathes with gills, hidden beneath the mantle that billows as it moves. Water flows in, then out through a funnel, a siphon which it can aim in any direction. With a burst of water, it can jet backward in a flash of ink and vanish. That ink, dark, swirling, ephemeral, is not just a screen. It contains chemicals that dull a predator's sense of smell. A sensory smokescreen, a disappearing spell. And yet, for all its defenses, the octopus is mortal. Its life is brief. Some live only months, others a few years. For most, death comes soon after reproduction. The female lays thousands of eggs, then guards them without rest, fanning water across their shells until she fades from hunger and exhaustion. She dies when they hatch, her life ending as theirs begin. The male, too, dies shortly after mating. Their brilliance burns quick and bright, a mind that glows and then goes. There is something profoundly tender in this brevity, a reminder that not all intelligence is tied to duration. The octopus lives not to conquer time but to fill it, to learn, to explore, to change. In its short span, it transforms the sea around it, hunting, hiding, watching, building, dreaming. It is a flare in the dark, and then it is gone. Still, it leaves traces. Dens built in unusual places, patterns in the sand, empty shells carefully arranged, stories that divers find and wonder at. In one bay, researchers found an octopus city, dozens of individuals living near each other, their dens overlapping, their movements suggesting community. This was unexpected. Octopuses were thought to be solitary, but perhaps even solitude in the deep has exceptions. Perhaps even the loneliest creatures reach out sometimes without words. Now imagine drifting close to one. The water is warm, the light soft and green. A shape moves beside a rock, it sees you, it does not flee. It changes, its skin grows smooth, its color pale, its body expanding slowly. You feel its gaze on you, deep and unblinking. For a moment there is nothing else. Just two lives breathing salt, sharing a space without sound. And then, with a flick of arms, it's gone through a crevice behind coral into the vastness. You are left with the feeling of having been noticed, not watched but seen. The ocean closes behind it like a curtain. The memory glows for a while, a moment of connection, fragile as breath. The octopus does not follow rules we understand. It rewrites itself constantly. Its body, its color, its life. It is not solid, it is not still. And in this perhaps is its secret. It knows how to become. Not to stay one thing, but to shift, to adapt, to melt and reform with elegance. In a world that asks us to be fixed, the octopus reminds us that softness can mean strength and change can mean wisdom. Let your mind float now in that thought, the thought of a creature who thinks with its arms, who decorates its home, who solves problems without a voice. Let it guide you into stillness, into depth, into the quiet sea of sleep. Let us follow the current now, deeper into the realm where thoughts curl like tendrils and knowledge is folded into the shape of soft flesh. The octopus continues to reveal itself not through sound or structure, but through subtle actions, sliding silently along the seafloor, curling into crevices, arranging shells as if memory were stitched into its limbs. It is not simply reacting to the world. It is shaping it. Here, intelligence doesn't walk, it flows, adapting to the rhythm of water of moment of need. Its arms are a marvel of nature, each one filled with its own network of neurons, nearly independent yet always coordinated. When an octopus reaches for something, it doesn't plan the movement the way we might. The arm explores, responds, adjusts, as if possessed of its own curiosity. And still, the central brain watches, gathers, refines. It is not command and control. It is conversation. Between mind and limb, between inside and outside, between what the body feels and what the creature knows. Inside its brain are shapes unlike ours, two large lobes that wrap around the esophagus, one on either side connected by a thin passage. Food must pass through this fragile ring. It is a mind wrapped in risk, in vulnerability. A single mistake while eating could mean death. And yet this arrangement allows for something beautiful, a tight coupling between sense and self. The octopus cannot ignore its body. It is its body. Intelligence is not separate from motion. It is entangled, inseparable, alive in every touch. And touch for the octopus is everything. Its suckers do not just grasp, they taste. Each one is lined with chemoreceptors that detect the chemical signatures of everything they meet. When it touches a stone, it learns what that stone is. When it curls around prey, it knows before it sees. Even in darkness, the octopus maps its world by feel, building a mental shape of its surroundings through contact and curiosity. This tactile wisdom is not limited to hunting. In moments of stillness, octopuses have been seen exploring for no clear reason, curling arms into empty jars, testing textures, manipulating objects as if wondering what might happen. This is not survival. This is something deeper, a form of play, of experimentation, of experience for its own sake. And play in any species is a sign of mind. In aquariums, they remember faces. They distinguish between humans who feed them and those who merely observe. Some reach out to interact, wrapping an arm gently around a finger. Others hide, refusing to engage. But always there is a response, measured, intentional, unique. No two octopuses behave exactly the same. Each one is its own flowing mystery. Biologists studying them speak of personality. Some octopuses are bold, others shy. Some are methodical, others impulsive. When tested, their responses change with time, mood, experience. They are not machines. They are individuals, and this individuality is not confined to the lab. In the wild, octopuses display complex behaviors that hint at problem-solving, deception, even planning. In Indonesia, researchers once observed an octopus collecting coconut shells and stacking them like shields, then carrying them across the seafloor to use later as shelter. This was not instinct. It was preparation, a future act imagined before it was needed. Another was seen using discarded bottles as dens, rearranging the objects at its entrance like furniture. These are not just shelters. They are decisions shaped by awareness. And still their world remains mostly hidden from ours. The ocean is vast. The octopus prefers solitude. Much of its life unfolds without witness, in caves, in night currents, beneath ledges where light cannot reach. We know only fragments, gathered from glimpses and patient study. Yet each fragment whispers the same truth. Here is a being of astonishing depth. Their evolution diverged from ours long ago, over 500 million years. While we were forming spines and jaws, the ancestors of the octopus were experimenting with softness, with flexibility, with a nervous system not bound to a single place. Their brains evolved not as a control tower but as a network, shaped by the demands of an environment where escape is survival and exploration is essential. Even their camouflage is more than defense. It is expression. They shift not just in color but in texture, raising bumps or smoothing their skin in response to mood, threat, or curiosity. Some patterns seem to reflect emotion, flashes of white when startled, slow waves of color when calm. These are not just signals to others. They are signs of inner states, feelings made visible. And the skin itself is sensitive, filled with light receptors that allow the octopus to respond to changes in brightness even without using its eyes. It is as if their entire body sees, feels, decides. They do not just live in their environment, they become it, merge with it, disappear into it by choice. To be unseen is not to be absent. It is to be in control of presence. Their ink, too, is not only escape. It may carry chemical messages, a warning, a confusion, a trace of stress. When released, it clouds the water, yes, but it also tells a story to those who can read it. Some octopuses produce dense, mucus-filled ink that lingers, mimicking the shape of the body, an illusion, a decoy, a ghost of themselves sent ahead to trick the predator's eye. In this, there is a kind of creativity, a choice to confuse, to deceive, to survive not by force but by imagination. And then there is the mother. After mating, she finds a quiet den and lays her eggs, hundreds, thousands, each one a translucent pearl. She arranges them in strings and stays beside them, never leaving, not even to eat. For weeks, sometimes months, she fans them gently with water, keeping them clean, safe, oxygenated. She grows thin. Her body weakens, but she does not stop. Her final act is a gift she will not live to see. And when the eggs hatch, she slips into stillness, her task complete. To witness this is to feel the softness of sacrifice, the beauty of a life lived for others. The octopus gives everything it has, not for glory, not for gain, but because it must. There is no reward, only instinct. And yet in that instinct there is something deeply moving, a quiet nobility etched in silence. Even in death, the octopus changes the sea. Its body feeds scavengers, its absence opens a space, its young disperse into the currents to begin again. Nothing is wasted, nothing is hurried. Life folds into life and the current carries on. Now close your eyes and imagine a reef at night. The water is dark but warm, coral fingers sway gently. A shape glides between rocks, glowing faintly, arms trailing like streamers of thought. It pauses, it watches. Then it melts into shadow, becoming nothing, becoming everything. You are not afraid. You are held. The ocean listens. And somewhere in that deep hush, an octopus dreams again. The current is slower now. The sea stretches like a breath held gently between the tides, and in its stillness the octopus moves once more, not with urgency but with intention shaped like water. It does not return to places the way we might. It finds new paths, new cracks, new shells, and in each it becomes something different. Its story is not linear. It loops. It adapts. It unfolds in every direction at once. It begins, perhaps, in the open sea, a drifting larva, small and translucent, carried by the rhythm of waves. It grows alone, unnoticed, until one day it finds the floor beneath it, the rocks, the crevices, the shelter of coral. There it chooses a den. There it begins to sculpt its life. With every stone it stacks, every shell it turns, the octopus shapes not just its home, but its being. This is a creature that does not build with plans, it builds with feeling. It senses where the current runs soft, where danger cannot reach, where silence hums in harmony with breath. And yet, even in this solitude, the octopus is not untouched by others. Sometimes it watches from a distance. Sometimes it signals, a flash of white, a ripple of color across the arms. In rare moments, two octopuses meet without aggression. Their arms intertwine like strands of thought, exploring not with fear but with curiosity. The touch is not just physical, it is a communication without words, a message in motion, saying, "I am here, I see you, you are real to me." There are few creatures who embody change as completely as the octopus. At every moment it shifts, its skin a map of the world around it, its body a response to the unseen. It does not ask permission to evolve, it simply does. A coral reef collapses and the octopus finds a new cave. A predator approaches and it becomes a rock. Food hides deep and the octopus grows clever fingers. It adapts not because it wants to, but because it must and it can. And in this quiet mastery, there is a lesson for us all. We build walls, we carry structure, we name and divide, but the octopus lives in ambiguity, in fluidity, in becoming. It does not ask what it is, it becomes what it needs to be. Softness is not its weakness, it is its wisdom. Its form is temporary, but its motion is eternal. There is something sacred in this, something humbling. In the darkest corners of the ocean, where sunlight never reaches, octopuses still roam. They curl along hydrothermal vents, their bodies glowing faintly from within, feeding on creatures adapted to fire and sulfur. Down here, where the earth breaks open and the water boils with minerals, life still makes room for grace. An octopus moves through the smoke like a thought in a dream, tracing a world no human could ever know. Its mind does not need maps. Its arms do not need roads. The world unfolds around it like ink, and it writes itself with every step. There are myths about the octopus, stories of sea monsters, krakens, creatures so large they can pull ships into the deep. But the truth is more mysterious, more beautiful. The octopus is not a monster. It is a mirror. In it, we see a version of life unburdened by noise. A life that listens, that responds, that hides not out of fear but out of choice. It is a being that values silence, that speaks only in movement and color, that teaches by example. Some divers speak of encounters that linger, moments when an octopus reached out not to attack but to touch. A gentle exploration, a hand of water touching a hand of air. In that brief contact there is recognition, not of species but of presence, of consciousness. The kind that doesn't need words to be real. That contact remains even when the octopus slips away. It echoes like a song remembered in silence. Even in science, the octopus remains elusive. It resists experiments that seek to simplify it. Its behavior changes too quickly. Its responses shift too easily. It is not a creature that offers easy patterns. And so it challenges our need to define, to label, to know. It reminds us that understanding does not always mean capturing. That to learn from another being, we may have to let go of control. And still it gives. Its neurons inspire new models of intelligence. Its camouflage inspires new materials. Its suckers inspire soft robotics. Its ink, its movement, its memory, they all ripple into fields beyond the sea. We study it not only because it is different, but because it holds a piece of something lost in us. The ability to be fluid, to sense before thinking, to live with our whole bodies, not just our minds. And then comes the end, softly like the closing of a shell. The octopus begins to slow, its colors grow dull, it eats less. It returns to its den and grows still. It is not afraid, it simply completes its shape. For some, the end comes after watching eggs hatch into the sea. For others, it comes quietly, alone. But always it comes with dignity. And in that quiet, the ocean remembers, the reef remembers, the rocks still bear the shape of its passing, the den still holds the scattered shells, the water still moves as it did, soft, rhythmic, alive. Another octopus may come one day, find that place, remake it, begin again. The story continues, not with repetition, but with reinvention. This is not the end. This is the sea's way. Nothing lasts, and yet nothing is lost. The octopus disappears, but its patterns remain. Its influence ripples forward. Its wisdom seeps into the coral, the current, the stories we tell, not as a fact, but as a feeling, not as a lesson, but as a song. Now let your own thoughts drift. Let them uncoil like arms in the water. You are not bound, you are not fixed. You are soft like the sea, like the octopus. And somewhere in the deep, something ancient is still moving, still thinking, still dreaming. The undersea ballet goes on, one dancer softer than breath. Close your eyes, feel the current. The world is wide and full of wonder, and just beneath it all, a creature shaped like thought is gliding unseen through the folds of time. There are places in the ocean where the darkness is so complete it feels like the edge of existence. No sunlight reaches there, no shadows are cast, and yet in this blackness something glows, tiny sparks, slow pulses, curtains of moving stars. The ocean, it seems, has a sky of its own, but it hides beneath the surface. Here in the deep, light is not given by the sun. It is made by life itself. This is the realm of bioluminescence, the quiet art of creatures who speak in glimmers, who survive in shimmer, who whisper not in sound, but in soft, glowing light. Imagine a world where every movement leaves a trail of blue behind, where each flick of a fin or brush of a jellyfish tentacle ignites the water around it. That is what you would see if you swam through a bloom of dinoflagellates, microscopic plankton who flash when disturbed. A fish swims past, and they flare blue. A wave crashes, and the shore glows. Even your own hand, if you swirled it gently through the water, would paint streaks of starlight that vanish as quickly as they arrive. These tiny sparks are not magic, they are messages, warnings, clocks, chemistry written into biology. The glow comes from luciferin, a molecule that, when exposed to the right enzyme, luciferase, releases energy as light. It is the same principle that lights up a firefly, but here in the sea it is everywhere. Fish use it, shrimp use it. Squid, jellyfish, worms, and even some sharks carry these lights within. Some produce their own. Others borrow light from symbiotic bacteria, but all use it with intention. In the deep sea, where nothing else shines, to make light is to speak. Some use light to vanish. The hatchetfish, for instance, swims in the twilight zone where just a ghost of sunlight filters down. Its belly glows faintly, matching the light from above so predators below can't see its silhouette. This is counter-illumination, a kind of invisibility cloak made from biology. Others use light to confuse. The firefly squid pulses its entire body in rhythmic flashes, disorienting hunters while slipping away. A few even release clouds of glowing liquid, not unlike ink, to distract and escape. But perhaps the most haunting lights belong to the anglerfish. In the darkness of the abyss, it drifts with a lure dangling from its forehead, an orb of glowing bacteria that sways like bait. Drawn by the light, smaller fish swim close, unaware of the jaws waiting just beyond. The lure is not alive, yet it helps the angler live. A partnership built on chemistry and hunger, a delicate balance of death and light. And still there is beauty here. The comb jelly's ctenophores are masters of silent wonder. Though not truly bioluminescent in the traditional sense, their rows of cilia bend and shimmer with diffraction, creating ripples of rainbow light that slide across their bodies like soft breath. These colors don't come from chemical glow, but from physics, from how light dances along moving parts. Still, in the black water the effect is the same, a display of otherworldly grace. Scientists drift in submersibles through this realm, staring out windows at light shows that feel like dreams. Flickers in the dark, spirals, threads of blue and green. They drop robotic cameras and wait, and the creatures respond not with sound but with lumens. A shrimp that flashes red light from beneath its eye. A siphonophore that stretches its long body into a glowing net. A squid that turns off one side of its body while lighting up the other, creating optical illusions even as it flees. This is a language we do not yet understand fully. It's not a language of sentences but of signals. A pulse means warning. A flicker means presence. A series of bursts may mean mating, or danger, or territory. In a world where sound fades and light is rare, to glow is to matter, to be seen, to connect. Even in the dark, life finds a way to speak. And yet, not all bioluminescence is defense. Some is invitation. Some deep-sea jellyfish release glowing threads that drift down like strands of hair, drawing the curious upward. Some sharks have light organs along their flanks, making them shimmer like moonlit stones on the seafloor. Some fish flash patterns during courtship, pulses of desire written in light instead of touch. Even the tiniest copepods flash as they mate, tracing their movement through the water in spirals that resemble constellations. These dances are ancient. Fossils of some glowing species date back hundreds of millions of years. The chemistry of luciferin may have first evolved as a byproduct of oxygen detoxification, an evolutionary accident that became beauty. What began as survival became communication, then coordination, then something very close to art. And in shallow waters, the glow still touches us. In certain bays where the temperature and nutrients align just right, entire lagoons light up when stirred. The water glows under paddles. Fish leave glowing trails. Even the rain, when it falls, creates sparks across the surface. These places are rare, but they exist. Silent fireworks in the sea, an invitation to wonder. Children laugh. Swimmers swirl their arms through the light. And though they may not know the word bioluminescence, they feel its magic. The way it turns the invisible into presence. The way it fills darkness with meaning. These tiny organisms, unseen by daylight, become stars at night, brief, bright, then gone again. Bioluminescence is not electricity. It is not heat. It is cool, efficient, quiet. It does not burn. It does not waste. And yet it moves the sea. It attracts. It warns. It guides. Some migratory fish follow glowing trails laid by plankton. Others avoid certain flashes learned from past pain. In this system, memory and biology intertwine. Light becomes memory. Memory becomes movement. Even humans have begun to listen. Scientists study bioluminescence not just for wonder, but for tools. GFP, the green fluorescent protein discovered in a jellyfish, now lights up human cells in medical research. It helps us track diseases, understand genes, even watch thoughts flicker in the brain. From the deep sea, we borrowed a light to look inside ourselves. And still, we do not fully know how far this goes. In trenches miles deep, creatures we have never named continue to glow. Tiny lights we cannot see with the eye still pulse in rhythms we have not yet deciphered. Perhaps they speak of seasons. Perhaps they echo lunar tides. Perhaps they mark the edges of the known with blinking signs that say, there is more. Now imagine floating in the stillness of that dark. There is no sound, no gravity, just water and time. And then slowly around you things begin to shine. A ring of light here, a pulse there, a curtain of glow rising from below. It is not frightening, it is comforting, as if the ocean itself is breathing in dreams. And you drifting there are part of the pattern. The lights flicker, then fade. The silence returns, but you remember. And the memory glows inside you, a soft warmth that says you were here. You witnessed the whispers of the deep. You saw what most will never see, the ocean writing poetry in pulses of light. Let us drift deeper now, into the parts of the sea where time seems to slow and every heartbeat of light is a language written in silence. The glow is no longer random. It is deliberate. Here, bioluminescence is not an accident or decoration. It is the only way to be seen, to be understood, to survive. The creatures who live in these great depths have evolved to speak entirely in glimmers. Where there is no sun, they have become stars. and each pulse they emit is more than beauty, it is necessity. In the mesopelagic zone, where twilight turns to true darkness, nearly every living thing has some form of light. It is no longer rare, it is the norm. The shrimp flashes red to startle. The jellyfish flares blue when touched. The squid blinks patterns across its body to vanish into background static. These lights, faint as they may seem, are the bright language of the deep, and their grammar is older than words. The dragonfish swims with needle-like teeth and a body so black it swallows light. It is invisible in this realm except for the soft red lantern that glows beneath its eye. Few creatures in the deep can even see red, but the dragonfish can, and with that light it hunts in secrecy. It illuminates its prey without revealing itself. This is not just vision, it is strategy, a war of wavelengths in a world without sun. Other fish carry glowing lures, much like the anglerfish, but shaped and positioned in 1,000 ways. Some wave them like fishing rods, others keep them beneath their jaws. Some light up their throats or cheeks. Each placement, each pulse evolved through time for a different reason: to attract food, to distract enemies, to signal potential mates. Even the shape of the light can matter: dots, dashes, long glows, quick flickers. A vocabulary not of letters but of rhythm. And not all lights are solitary. The siphonophores, long colonial creatures made up of many specialized individuals, float like glowing ribbons through the abyss. Each segment has a task. One moves, one catches, one digests, one reproduces. Together they form a living organism stretched across meters of water, its body pulsing with symmetrical dots of light like a lantern parade through the sea. It is not one being. It is many, acting as one. And still it glows. The light of the deep is often blue or green, wavelengths that travel farthest through water. But some rare creatures flash in red or even near-infrared, a secret language unreadable to others. In this realm, evolution favors not the loudest but the most precise. The fish that can hide and shine at once. The jellyfish that can attract help while staying invisible to predators. Even bacteria have learned to use light, forming glowing patches on fish bellies or squid mantles in exchange for shelter and food. The Hawaiian bobtail squid is one such partner. It carries colonies of luminous bacteria in a special light organ. These bacteria glow downward, canceling the squid's shadow so it blends into the moonlit surface above. During the day, the squid buries itself. At dusk, it emerges to hunt, perfectly cloaked by the light it hosts. At dawn, it expels most of the bacteria, allowing them to regrow each night. It is not a permanent gift, it is a relationship, carefully balanced, repeated with every tide. There is a tenderness to these exchanges, a sense of mutual trust written into DNA. The squid gives space. The bacteria give glow. Neither survives in this way without the other, and this kind of mutualism is everywhere in the deep. Bioluminescence is not always solo. It is often shared. A trait passed down, a tool borrowed, a signal repeated over generations of silence. In the blackwater dives, nighttime descents into the open ocean. Divers float untethered among creatures that look like dreams. Transparent worms with glowing pulses running down their sides. Larval eels flickering like wireframe models. Juvenile squid that glow only when touched. Every encounter is fleeting. The lights blink, then vanish. The sea remains still. It is like being inside a memory, real but always slipping away. Some scientists believe these lights may help creatures find their way in the dark, much like stars guided ancient sailors. Migrating fish may follow luminous plankton blooms. Others may time their vertical migrations with shifting glow levels. Some even suspect that entire food webs are stitched together by the patterns of light, creatures rising at night to feed, then sinking again before sunrise. The entire sea, moving up and down like a breath, guided not by clocks but by luminescence. And yet, for all its wonder, this glow is fragile. It depends on precise chemistry, specific enzymes, balanced pH, steady temperatures. As the oceans warm and acidify, some of these relationships may falter. Bacteria may glow less. Plankton may lose their sparkle. Whole chains of communication could fall quiet. The light, like all things, can fade. But for now it remains, and it continues to inspire. Artists create paints that glow in darkness, mimicking the sea. Architects design buildings that change color with light. Biologists engineer cells that glow to reveal disease, emotion, damage. From the deep, this language of light has risen into our lives, not as danger but as guide, as invitation. And always there is mystery. Why do some species flash only once, then never again? Why do others produce light even in isolation, far from mates or enemies? Are there purposes we have not yet understood? Or is some of this light just beauty, unnecessary, uneconomical, yet persistent? Like laughter in solitude, like poetry whispered to no one. Perhaps the sea glows not only to survive but to remember, to mark presence, to say, I was here, I moved through this place, I shimmered briefly and then passed on. Imagine now that you are floating there. No mask, no weight, just your breath and the slow churn of the water. And all around you things begin to shimmer. A jellyfish spins beside you, its edges rimmed with pale gold. A fish streaks past, trailing a line of emerald. A shrimp clicks and disappears in a red flash. The water is not dark anymore. It is alive. It speaks in glints and glows. And in that stillness, you understand something soft and powerful. The ocean does not need our eyes to shine. It shines for itself, for its creatures, for the quiet conversations that unfold without us. We are only visitors here, listeners in a cathedral of glow. Let your thoughts rest in that light. Let the flickers wash over your breath. You are part of the pattern now, a witness to the oldest language on earth, a keeper of the glow. The deepest part of the ocean is not a place of silence but a place of waiting. It does not hurry. It does not shout. It watches quietly as the planet spins and the stars rise and fall above a ceiling it will never see. Down here, pressure folds around everything like the weight of forgotten time. No footsteps echo. No voices linger. And still in this stillness something glows, not brightly, not loudly, but steadily, patiently. Bioluminescence does not shout into the dark, it listens, then answers with light. There is something profound about a creature that glows when no one is watching. A fish that pulses light into blackness with no audience, no applause. A jellyfish that leaves trails of soft blue as it moves, not to be seen, but simply because that is what it does. It is a kind of devotion, a gesture repeated in the dark, a presence made visible not for attention but for connection. Each flash says, I am here, I exist, I belong to this place. And in a way, so do we. Our fascination with the glowing ocean goes back generations. Sailors told stories of seas that shimmered, of ghosts in the waves, of creatures that danced just beneath the surface. They did not have words like luciferin or dinoflagellate. They had wonder, they had fear, they had belief. And while science has given us the tools to measure, to explain, to understand, the glow still stirs something older in us, a longing for what moves in the quiet, a respect for what does not need sunlight to be beautiful. Some of the most remarkable displays of bioluminescence are not seen with the eyes at all, but recorded in glimpses from deep-sea cameras. Entire fields of organisms blinking in coordination, like a signal moving across the floor of the sea. Lines of light marching forward, curtains of color rising upward. The camera moves and the light retreats or responds or repeats the pattern in reverse. These are not random flashes. They are interactions, echoes of awareness, rehearsals of ancient rituals written in light. And some lights are older still. Fossils of prehistoric plankton show hints of glow-producing structures, suggesting that bioluminescence predates flowering plants, predates insects, perhaps even predates eyes. Light came before the seeing of it, a whisper sent into a world that hadn't yet learned to listen. And yet it continued, refining itself, waiting for meaning to arrive, for vision to meet signal, for fish to learn the difference between a glow that means food and a glow that means danger, for connection to begin. Even today, new species are discovered not by their shape but by their light. A diver in a remote bay sees a pulse that doesn't match any known rhythm. A submersible records a flicker where none should be. And so begins another mystery, another story told in fragments, each flash a sentence, each glow a name not yet spoken. And while some glows mean survival, others may mean nothing at all. They could be leftovers, traits once useful, now simply beautiful. Or perhaps they serve a purpose we have yet to understand. A fish flashes as it sleeps. A worm glows in its burrow. A shrimp sends pulses upward, then hides. Are they remembering? Are they dreaming? Are they shaping their world in ways we cannot see? Bioluminescence is not uniform. It varies in brightness, in duration, in hue. Some creatures pulse. Others glow constantly. Some light up only when touched, as if responding to the world's questions. Others glow in silence, even in isolation. And yet the one constant is that this glow emerges from within. It is not borrowed. It is not reflected. It is created by the body, from the body, for the body. It is identity made luminous. And perhaps that's what moves us most. In a world where so much is hidden, the idea of something shining from within is comforting. A reminder that even in darkness, even in solitude, something can still glow, still speak, still reach out. The sea does not need sunlight to shine, and neither sometimes do we. Now imagine yourself as one of them, not a visitor, not a diver, but a creature born to the deep. You are weightless. You feel the water not as cold but as constant. Your body holds light. You do not see with eyes alone. You see with your skin, with your motion, with your memory. Around you the sea is alive with gentle flickers, some far, some near, none loud. You are part of it. You pulse once. The current answers. You are seen. And in that moment there is no loneliness, no fear, only belonging. The darkness is not empty. It is full of signals, of shapes, of ancient songs sung in silent flashes. You swim not through blackness, but through a living language. Every movement is understood. Every pulse is returned. You are not alone. When you rise slowly, carefully, you begin to see change. The water grows brighter. The light of the sun begins to filter in, pale and unfamiliar. The bioluminescence fades, not because it is gone, but because it is no longer needed. Up here, vision belongs to the sun. Below, it belongs to life itself. The creatures of the glow remain where they are. The jellyfish still drift. The comb gel is still ripple. The shrimp still signal. The bacteria still light the bellies of fish. And the dance continues, unseen by most, uninterrupted by time. The sea holds its fireflies close, hidden in the folds of depth. When we return to land, we carry the memory of that glow, not always clearly, not always consciously, but it remains. In how we marvel at a firefly, in how we light candles in the dark, in how we are drawn to screens, to stars, to things that shine from within. We remember, somewhere deep inside, that there is light that asks for nothing but to be noticed. And so, the next time you look into the night ocean, or even just think of it, remember the ones who shine without sound, who flash without fear, who glow not because they must, but because they can. They are not trying to be beautiful, they simply are. Let your thoughts drift like light beneath waves. Let your breath follow the rhythm of slow pulses. You are part of the story now, a story older than speech, a story written in glimmers and soft flares. Close your eyes. Let the memory of bioluminescent light rest gently in your chest. The ocean still whispers, the glow still lingers. In the quiet folds of the warm shallows, where sunbeams scatter like golden silk and currents drift like dreams, there lives a dancer unlike any other. It does not rush. It does not chase. It floats in stillness, wrapped in armor, its tail curled like a question mark, its eyes moving in opposite directions as it watches the sea without turning. This is the seahorse, delicate and strange, a creature of paradox, gentle yet armored, motionless yet always swaying, shy yet radiant with quiet charm. It does not fight for space or speed. It waits, it waltzes, and in that waiting a softer rhythm of life unfolds. Among the coral gardens where they live, the seahorse does not swim like fish. It drifts upright like a blade of sea grass caught in a current. Its body, slender and ridged, is protected by bony plates instead of scales. Each segment moves with care, each flick of its tiny dorsal fin enough to propel it forward, if only slightly. It cannot dart or leap. It can only hover, glide, hold still. And somehow this is enough. In a world of speed, it survives by stillness. In a world of predators, It survives by becoming background. And yet it is not passive. The seahorse is attentive, aware. Its eyes move independently, scanning the surroundings in all directions, one eye on a passing shrimp, the other watching for shelter. It hunts with quiet patience, waiting for tiny crustaceans to float near before snapping them up with a gentle inhale. There are no teeth, no chase, just a soft pull of water, a moment of precision, over and over like a quiet breath drawn from the sea. Their tails, prehensile and strong, are the anchors of their lives. With them they cling to coral stems, to blades of grass, to one another. A tail wrapped around a twig becomes a lifeline in the current. Two tails intertwined become a promise. In rough water, the seahorse does not drift, it holds on. It chooses a place and keeps it. It sways, but it does not fall. It is here in the coral gardens that the seahorse reveals its gentlest gift, a courtship that unfolds not in dominance but in dance. When a pair meets, they begin a ritual that may last for days, circling one another, changing colors, swaying in perfect unison. They anchor themselves with their tails and move together like seaweed caught in a shared breeze. This is not a battle. It is an agreement, a trust, a silent duet of mutual choosing. And when the time comes, something even rarer occurs. The female, with grace and care, deposits her eggs into the male's brood pouch, a soft sac on his abdomen where he will carry them as they grow. He does not merely hold them. His body nourishes them, protects them, maintains the perfect environment for their development. For weeks, he becomes a vessel of life. And when the young are ready, he bends forward and they emerge, not in a trickle but in a sudden fluttering, like stars escaping a shell. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, of tiny seahorses drift into the world, each one a miniature of its parents, ready to anchor and sway and begin again. No other animal in the sea does this quite the same. Nowhere else does the male become the womb. And yet for the seahorse this reversal is not strange. It is natural. It is part of their quiet wisdom. A balance not of power but of care. A sharing of what it means to begin life. Their world is fragile, woven tightly with the coral gardens they call home. These reefs, brilliant and bustling, are not simply decoration, they are life's architecture. Within the branching fingers of corals, countless species find shelter, food, and purpose. The seahorse moves carefully through this maze, its body often camouflaged to match. Some are golden like sunlit sand, others pale and ghostly. A few bear tiny skin filaments that resemble coral polyps, so perfect in disguise that even predators miss them. The reef is not just home. It is an extension of the body, a mirror of stillness, a partner in survival. And when the reef suffers, so do they. Warming seas bleach the corals, turning vibrant cities into pale ruins. Pollution clouds the water. Fishing nets sweep through seagrass meadows. And the seahorse, so gentle, so dependent on its habitat, begins to vanish. Not in protest, not with noise, but with quiet absence. A place once full now holds nothing. A twig that once swayed with life now sways alone. Yet even here there is resilience. In protected waters and careful conservation, seahorses return, slowly, cautiously, like dancers stepping back into a hall they once knew. And when they do, the reef begins to heal with them. For the seahorse is not just a symbol of fragility, it is a participant in balance. It eats pests that harm the coral. It fertilizes microhabitats. It keeps the system turning softly like a wheel moved by breath. And so we begin to see them not just as curious animals, but as keepers of a tempo we forgot to hear. The reef beats not with drums but with sway, with the rise and fall of gentle tails, with the hum of living rock, with the slow, deliberate movement of creatures who have no interest in hurrying. To observe a seahorse is to slow down. To match its pace is to release the need for noise. It teaches not by command but by presence. It shows how stillness can be survival, how gentleness can be strength, how a dance, shared quietly between two beings, can carry life forward more surely than force ever could. Now picture yourself there, kneeling in warm, shallow water, watching a seahorse cling to a reed just inches from your face. It does not flee. It does not hide. It turns slightly, one eye meeting yours as if acknowledging your presence. It sways. You sway. For a moment, your breath and the tide are the same. There is no language, yet everything is understood. Close your eyes. Let that moment settle. The seahorse is not gone. It is still dancing somewhere in gardens made of coral and silence. Let your mind curl like its tail around the idea that softness is not weakness, that waiting is not wasting, and that the ocean holds space for even the quietest forms of grace. Let's sink further into the coral gardens now, where the reef stretches outward like a living dream and the water holds the hush of morning. Here, the world is not built in straight lines or fast movements. It unfolds in spirals and patience. And in the quiet corners of this living architecture, the seahorse continues its gentle choreography, not as a solo performance, but as part of a much larger, slower song that only the sea remembers in full. To be a seahorse is to belong without commanding, to participate without consuming. It is not a race but a rhythm. The reef around the seahorse is a city without roads, a floating tapestry woven from coral branches, anemone arms, swaying sea grass and flickers of fish. Every inch of it is alive, and yet none of it rushes. The polyps that build coral grow just a fraction of an inch per year, and still they shape entire worlds. In the same way, the seahorse, with its unhurried motion and unspoken rituals, helps sustain the subtle threads that hold the reef together. It hunts not with teeth or speed, but with invisibility and stillness. Its snout, long and narrow, acts like a straw, sucking in copepods and shrimp in tiny, precise pools of water. It does not chase, it waits. It does not charge, it leans. It watches until the moment is right, then acts so quickly and gently that its prey disappears without ever sensing danger. A soft flick, a breath inward, and the meal is done. Its stomach is small, its digestion fast, so it must eat almost constantly. But even this hunger never looks like urgency. It feeds with the calm of a tide. Each seahorse is unique in shape and color. Some grow long skin filaments that look like seaweed. Others are dotted or striped, curled like question marks against pink coral or green grass. Their camouflage is not a disguise. It is a form of honesty, their way of matching the world, not standing apart from it. They are not hiding. They are becoming. Their skin shifts gently over time to resemble their habitat more closely, and even their movement mimics the soft back and forth of the water plants around them. To look at one too quickly is to miss it. To see it properly, you must first become still. They form pair bonds that are quiet and consistent. Once they've chosen a mate, seahorses often return to one another each day, meeting in a soft ritual that strengthens their connection. They change color, they circle. They grasp tails and float upward together in slow spirals like dancers rising through light. It is a greeting, a reunion, a moment of shared alignment. In a world where many creatures compete, the seahorse's bond is cooperative. Their union is not a possession. It is a mutual drifting. And this drifting is mirrored in how they move through life. Unlike most fish, the seahorse has no caudal fin to push it forward in bursts. Its dorsal fin flutters like a hummingbird's wings, propelling it ever so slowly. Tiny pectoral fins near the head help it steer. This means it cannot swim fast. It cannot flee quickly. Instead, it thrives by holding on. Its tail, curled and muscular, anchors it to plants, to coral, to mates. A storm may pass overhead, but the seahorse remains, wrapped around a reed, swaying gently. This vulnerability has made them rare in many places. Caught accidentally in fishing nets, harvested for traditional medicine, or taken for the pet trade, they have disappeared from habitats they once filled. And yet, when given peace, they return. Their numbers grow where waters are calm, where reefs are protected, where grass beds are left untouched. They are the first to show us the health of a place, and often the first to leave when it falters. To know where seahorses thrive is to know where the ocean breathes well. Their reproduction, too, carries the softness of their kind. When the male carries the eggs, his body responds with care. Hormones regulate the internal pouch, adjusting salt levels, temperature, and oxygen to match the needs of the growing embryos. He rocks gently, contracts softly, sometimes shifts positions to bring more water to the brood. When the young are ready, he gives birth not with struggle but with movement, curling and uncurling, expelling new life into the reef in waves. Some offspring drift away at once, others cling for a moment before letting go. The parent does not chase them, he simply watches as they join the sea. These bobbies, no larger than a grain of rice, are fully formed seahorses. They rise into the water column, then begin their tiny lives in miniature, eating, anchoring, avoiding. Few will survive, but enough will, and so the dance continues. There is no fanfare, no noise, just another breath of life carried forward as it has been for millions of years. And around them the reef continues its slow pulse. Corals feed at night, extending their tiny tentacles to catch plankton. Cleaner fish flit from fin to fin, removing parasites with gentle nibbles. Crabs carry seaweed like hats. Octopuses rearrange stones outside their dens. The reef does not rest, but it does not rush either. It is alive with deliberate motion, a world of color built on silence and timing. In this space, the seahorse is both guest and guardian. It does not dominate the reef, but it adds to its harmony. Where it clings, there is stability. Where it mates, there is renewal. And where it drifts, it reminds us that strength can come not from control, but from alignment. The seahorse is not trying to be the biggest or the fastest or the fiercest. It is simply trying to be present. And in that presence, there is a grace unmatched by size or speed. Imagine watching one now. You float in the shallow reef, and the sun above breaks into golden shards. A strand of grass sways, and within it a shape, pale, curled, almost still. But then it moves just slightly, and suddenly you see it. A seahorse anchored and calm, eyes watching everything, body rising and falling with the tide. You hold your breath. You do not want to disturb it. And in that pause, the reef becomes quieter. You begin to hear it, the soft music of movement, of presence, of patience. You are not intruding. You are being invited, not loudly but softly, not with words but with a rhythm you can feel behind your ribs. The seahorse does not flee. It continues its slow dance, and you, now part of the water, drift beside it. Let your thoughts do the same. Let them loosen their grip. Let them sway. You are held here, among coral and current, among creatures who speak in stillness. The reef is not far, it is near. And somewhere in its garden a seahorse moves again, not to be seen but simply to be. Now let us linger in the final turn of the reef's rhythm, where the water grows warm with memory and light dances in gentle flickers across coral bone. The seahorse is still here, tucked into the folds of sea grass, not commanding attention, but becoming part of the seascape so thoroughly that presence and background blend. Its body, coiled and careful, is an ode to quiet survival. Its gaze, slow and separate, remains a mirror of calm. And all around it, the coral garden continues its timeless pulse, a cathedral of color, motion, and silence. By now, the reef feels familiar, like a dream you can revisit without waking. You recognize the branching fingers of acropora, the slow-lifting arms of sea fans, the delicate fronds of algae that wave like soft songs in the current. You know the shimmer of fish darting in between, the slow drift of plankton rising through sunlit columns. And in this world, the seahorse is not a stranger, but a thread in the fabric. It does not arrive with noise, and it does not leave with footprints. It lives as the reef does, gently, attentively, with grace written into every breath. Even in their smallest gestures, seahorses shape their world. They graze on tiny crustaceans that would otherwise overwhelm the ecosystem. They serve as food for creatures higher on the chain. Their presence tells scientists where the reef remains intact, where the grasses still thrive, where the water still holds its song. Their tails wrap not only around reeds, but around the idea that fragility and importance often dwell together. To protect a seahorse is to protect an entire world built on balance. And yet, for all their quiet importance, seahorses remain elusive. They vanish between blades of sea grass, reappear with the tide, drift just out of reach of casual attention. Divers must search slowly, patiently. Photographers must wait for the right moment. And even then, the seahorse might turn, tuck, or simply disappear again into the reef's palette. It is not avoiding us. It is simply moving according to its own clock, one not governed by urgency, but by trust in the rhythm of the sea. When storms pass above and waves thrash overhead, the seahorse does not panic. It curls tighter to its anchor. It rides out the storm by holding still. And in that stillness is a lesson. In a world that often confuses movement with progress, the seahorse reminds us that resilience can also mean staying in place. That strength is not always the loudest presence, but often the most grounded one. The reef itself seems to echo this truth. Corals grow slowly, imperceptibly. They are living stones built by colonies of tiny animals no larger than grains of rice. And yet together, over decades and centuries, they raise mountains beneath the sea. Colorful ridges, intricate valleys, worlds within worlds. Their work is never finished, but it is always beautiful. And when seahorses glide among these structures, they bring softness to stone. They bring movement to stillness. They bring stories to shapes. Some legends say that seahorses are the steeds of sea gods, that they carry the dreams of the ocean across the tide. Others call them tokens of luck or messengers of calm. Whatever the myth, the feeling remains the same. They are creatures of wonder. Their presence quiets the heart. In aquariums, people stand for long minutes watching a single seahorse drift. They whisper as though in a temple. Children press fingers to the glass, mimicking the curl of the tail, the tilt of the head. No one rushes in front of a seahorse. It commands pause not by power but by gentleness. And perhaps that's its true gift, to slow us down, to bring us back to the pace of breath, of tide, of being. Their numbers in the wild still face threats: habitat loss, pollution, climate change, overharvesting, and yet they continue. In marine sanctuaries and carefully tended waters they reappear. In places where the grass is left to sway and the coral is allowed to grow, the seahorse returns. Not quickly, not with flourish, but steadily, softly, like a story remembered. And the reef rejoices. With each returning seahorse comes a sign that life still finds a way, that grace still survives pressure, that the sea still remembers how to heal. Scientists tag and track them, nodding their dances, their pairings, their birthing sites. Divers train to spot them gently, to observe without disturbance. And in every new sighting, hope ripples outward. Now close your eyes. Picture the reef not in color but in motion, the slow sway of sea fans, the poolsing of anemones, the flicker of fish schools. And somewhere within it all, a single seahorse, tail wrapped around a reed, its fins beating quietly, its head bowed as if listening. It is not performing. It is not hiding. It is simply being, present, peaceful, whole. You are floating nearby. The current rocks you both. And for a moment you share something wordless, a stillness deeper than silence, a connection beyond sight. The seahorse turns. Its eyes meet yours, one at a time. And then, with a flick of its tail, it releases its anchor and drifts upward, spiraling gently toward the light. You do not follow, you only watch. And in that watching, something in you stills, something softens. The reef breathes through you now. The dance continues. Let your mind stay there, in the coral garden, in the hush of sea grass, in the slow, strong spiral of the seahorse's waltz. Let your thoughts curl like its tail around the idea that smallness can be powerful, that stillness can be wise, and that the ocean holds lessons not shouted but whispered in movement. The water remains, the reef endures, the dance never ends. On the quiet floor of the ocean, where light filters down like lace and time seems to fold into itself, there lives a creature that does not chase, does not hurry, does not strive for more than what the sea gives. It lies where the current leaves it, or inches forward on soft, invisible feet, tasting the sand grain by grain. This is the sea cucumber, strange in form, soft in motion, ancient in practice. A being that looks like something in between object and animal, yet breathes and eats and lives in a rhythm older than memory. Its very presence slows the water, as if even the ocean pauses to watch it breathe. There is no fanfare in the life of a sea cucumber. It is not built for display. Its skin, leathery and bumpy, ranges from the color of stone to the glow of coral, sometimes speckled, sometimes smooth. Its body is soft but sturdy, a tube with a mouth at one end and an opening at the other, with everything it needs in between. There are no sharp teeth, no piercing eyes. And yet this creature carries within it one of the most important roles in the sea's great cycle, the quiet work of cleansing, renewing, restoring. As it crawls along the seabed, the sea cucumber eats the ocean's cast-offs, bits of decayed plants, plankton, fish waste, fallen sand. It sifts them gently, taking in what others discard, digesting what is broken, and releasing clean sediment behind it. In doing so, it recycles the reef. It turns waste into foundation. It stirs the floor so nutrients can rise, so oxygen can seep deeper, so the coral gardens can remain alive from the bottom up. It is the gardener of the deep, tending not with hands but with patience, not with tools but with touch. And its touch is subtle. Sea cucumbers move on tube feet, tiny suction cups that extend and retract in slow rhythm, allowing them to glide across the sand like clouds drifting across the sky. They do not hurry, they do not stop. They simply go forward, always tasting, always transforming. Around their mouths are soft tentacles, usually 10, that reach out, gather detritus, bring it inward. Each movement is deliberate, each action purposeful. It is a kind of underwater meditation. They belong to the same phylum as sea stars and sea urchins, echinoderms, creatures who live not by force but by structure. Their bodies follow a radial symmetry like flowers, like galaxies. Some can stiffen or soften their tissues at will, turning flexible one moment, rigid the next. Some can even dissolve parts of themselves to escape a predator, only to regenerate later what was lost. The sea cucumber's softness is not weakness. It is strategy. It is survival. And in moments of danger it does not bite or flee. Instead, some species expel their internal organs, sticky, stringy filaments that confuse or entangle the predator. It is a sacrifice, a shedding, a surrender that becomes defense. Later the organs grow back, slowly, silently. Life resumed not with fanfare but with faith. In this way the sea cucumber teaches something rare, that loss can be temporary, that what's given up can be remade. It breathes through its rear end, not in error but by design. A system of water-filled lungs draws oxygen from the seawater brought in through the anus, a method that seems strange only because it is unfamiliar. For the sea cucumber it is elegant, efficient, evolution shaped not by our rules but by the ocean's deeper logic. The act of breathing becomes a cycle of in and out, water and life, always turning, always slow. They are not loners, though they move alone. On the reef floor, dozens may live side by side, their motions uncoordinated yet harmonious. One moves east, another west, a third lies still. But together they churn the sand, clean the floor, renew the system. Their presence marks a healthy sea. Their absence warns of imbalance. In this way they speak, not in sound but in sediment. At night many grow more active. Some climb coral ridges, some drift slightly in the current. A few rare species swim, undulating their bodies through the water with ghost-like grace. Most stay grounded, however, tethered to the sand, dedicated to their slow purpose. Their entire life may unfold within a few square meters, yet within that space they touch the entire reef. Their labor is unseen but essential. And even reproduction, in its quiet way, echoes the sea cucumber's calm. Males and females release their sperm and eggs into the water, relying on currents to carry them. Fertilization happens where chance allows. From those unions, tiny larvae emerge, free-swimming, translucent, drifting with the plankton. In time, they settle. They sink. They become soft tubes on the floor, beginning again the work of renewal. In some cultures, the sea cucumber is considered a delicacy. In others, a medicine. Its body, rich in collagen and bioactive compounds, is harvested and dried, traded across oceans. And yet its true value may be deeper, not in what it gives when taken, but in what it gives simply by living. It filters the ocean. It builds the base. It moves nutrients upward by moving forward slowly. Marine biologists watch them closely, not because they dazzle, but because they signal. A reef without sea cucumbers is a reef in trouble. One with them is one where life can still cycle, where growth can still happen, where the slow breathing of the ocean has not yet stopped. Now imagine lying still on the seafloor beside one. The current swirls softly around you. The world is dim but peaceful, Beside you, a sea cucumber inches forward, its tentacles reaching, its body shifting, its presence calm. It does not rush. It does not speak. But in its motion you feel the ancient rhythm of the reef. A rhythm that says, everything returns, everything renews, nothing is wasted. Let your thoughts follow that pace. Let them slow. Let them soften. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to fix. You only need to be here, breathing with the ocean, resting beside a creature that lives by trust. Trust in time. Trust in cycles. Trust that what is slow is not lost, only deeper. The sea cucumber breathes, and so does the sea. Let us drift deeper now, not into the sea itself, but into the life that pulses just above its floor, a quiet procession of purpose where the sea cucumber carries out its slow ceremony of balance. The longer you watch it, the more it becomes clear. This is not laziness. This is not accident. This is intention slowed to the speed of the earth's turning. Every movement, gentle, unhurried, is a decision shaped by 1,000 generations of stillness. The sea cucumber does not ask to be seen. It asks only to continue, and in that continuation it leaves the seafloor cleaner, richer, more whole than before. All around it the reef is full of soundless conversations. A crab pulls algae into its den. A goby hovers above its burrow. Algae shifts toward light, and beneath it all, woven through the sediment like breath through lungs, is the sea cucumber. Its passage over the sand stirs life into motion, oxygen into layers, microbes into circulation, nutrients into rebirth. It is not only a creature, it is a bridge between what was and what can be. As it eats, it transforms. Its body separates waste from nourishment, recycles what others leave behind. In one end, decay enters. Out the other, the foundation of future coral, future grass, future life. Each inch of ground it touches becomes new again, not suddenly, not dramatically, but completely. And when enough sea cucumbers move across the same space, the entire terrain changes. What was once a blanket of still sand becomes aerated, refreshed, fertile. Some sea cucumbers are small, thin, barely the length of a finger. Others grow large and thick, weighing several pounds and stretching over 2 feet. Their names are as gentle as their lives: sandfish, pinkfish, tiger tail, black teatfish. Their forms may differ, but their message remains constant: clean, soften, give back. Move slowly and let the ocean find its breath through you. Though they may appear defenseless, sea cucumbers possess a quiet arsenal. Their skin contains toxins distasteful to predators, and in some species these compounds, called saponins, can disrupt the membranes of cells. The message is not one of aggression but of deterrence. I am soft but not yours to consume. In times of great threat they eject their insides, a spectacular shedding of parts that stuns predators and allows escape. The organs regrow slowly, month by month. This is the sea cucumber's great paradox. It survives by surrendering and heals by trusting in time. And perhaps even stranger is what lives within them. In the depths of the Indo-Pacific, a small fish, the pearlfish, often slips into the body of the sea cucumber, entering through the rear and resting inside its respiratory system. There the fish finds protection, shelter, safety. The cucumber continues breathing. It is not harmed. It simply allows. It becomes a host, a hollow, a refuge. It is hard to say whether this relationship is mutual or parasitic. But the image endures. One creature sheltering another inside itself, without noise, without struggle. This openness is not accidental. The sea cucumber's structure is designed for flow, for taking in and releasing, for allowing the ocean to move through it. And through this openness, it becomes part of something larger. It ceases to be an individual and becomes a process, a current, a piece of the ocean's circulatory system. The larvae, too, follow the flow. After fertilization in the open water, the young sea cucumber becomes a drifting form, small, transparent, shaped like a leaf. It rises, floats, feeds on plankton, and then, at a moment decided by hunger, gravity, or chance, it sinks. It settles onto the sand. It becomes solid. It begins again the lifelong task of sifting, stirring, and breathing for the reef. These early days are fragile. Many do not survive. Currents carry them too far. Predators find them. The sea does not offer certainty. And yet some reach the bottom, some find shelter, some begin to grow, and from those few the seafloor is reborn. A soft procession begins anew, one grain at a time. In aquaculture and reef restoration, humans have begun to understand the sea cucumber's value, not as product, but as partner. Farms raise them alongside fish and coral, using their waste-cleansing abilities to balance closed ecosystems. Divers reintroduce them into depleted seagrass beds, hoping their slow presence will rebuild what storms and industry erased. The results are promising. Where they return, the ground grows rich. The grasses regrow. The coral edges begin to pulse again. And yet many are still harvested unsustainably, removed faster than they can reproduce, traded under names meant to disguise their disappearance. Some are boiled and dried before their role can be understood. And so, while they regenerate internally, their larger populations struggle to recover. The ocean loses a breath it did not know was vital, and still, in protected places, they endure. When researchers measure the health of the reef, they do not always begin with the flashy fish or the towering coral. They begin at the bottom. They begin with the sediment. They look for the trails, the droppings, the gentle marks that show a sea cucumber has passed this way. If those signs are there, hope is near. If not, the work begins. Soft hands returning soft creatures to soft sand, trusting that in their stillness the sea will heal. There is something deeply humbling in this. The idea that one of the most essential forms of renewal is neither fast nor loud. It is a creature few people notice. It does not sparkle. It does not perform. But it does the work. And in its work, entire systems are sustained. Now imagine watching it from just above. You hover in the water, weightless, while below a sea cucumber crawls forward. Its tentacles reach, curl, bring in the silt. Its body arches, then relaxes. The sand shifts beneath it. Behind, the trail of its passing, clean, turned, stirred. You exhale. The bubbles rise. Nothing else moves. Just you and the creature, slow companions in a world that knows no hurry. You could watch it for hours. You do not need anything from it. It does not demand anything from you. But in your watching, something in you begins to echo its rhythm. A slowing, a remembering, a peace that does not ask to be explained. The sea does not owe answers. It offers motion. Let your thoughts settle into that motion. Let them sift, drift, rise. The sea cucumber is still there, still breathing, still crawling forward, not to escape, not to arrive, but simply to be part of what must continue. It is not trying to teach, but if you are listening, it is already saying everything. The ocean breathes, and so does the creature. The creature breathes, and so do you. There is a stillness to the end of a day beneath the ocean. Not silence, but a quiet layering of rhythms softening into rest. The sea cucumber, lying along the reef's edge, continues its work with no regard for time as we know it. The light may shift, the current may slow, but the creature persists, body against the sand, mouth tentacles reaching and folding, moving in slow circles like the arms of a clock made of breath. There is no finish line in its world. There is only process. A soft promise that everything will one day return to where it came from, reshaped and ready again. It moves so slowly that it often seems not to move at all. A passerby might miss it, mistaking it for a fallen log, a smooth stone, a strange patch of living coral. But the observant know what to look for: the gentle wave of its tube feet, the subtle press of its body against the sediment, the slightly darker trail of freshly turned sand behind it. These are the footprints of the unnoticed, and they tell a story deeper than most ever stop to hear. That story is about patience, not the kind that waits reluctantly, but the kind that exists beyond waiting. The sea cucumber has no need for hurry. The ocean has shaped it this way, unrushed, unworried, undemanding. It does not seek to conquer space or dominate its surroundings. It does not stake out territory or display. It survives because it fits. It lives because it serves. And what it serves is something fundamental. Beneath the bright corals and darting fish, beneath the hunting rays and gliding turtles, the seafloor must stay alive. Oxygen must reach the depths. Nutrients must be recycled. Bacteria must find their balance. All of this begins with the stirring of sand. and the sea cucumber, through its slow journey across the bottom, makes that stirring happen. It opens the surface. It moves what must be moved. It turns the page on the reef's most ancient script. It does not know this, but it does not need to. Its body is the knowledge. Its instincts, inherited through millions of years, are enough. And in that simplicity lies something sacred, a wisdom that does not question its own value, that does not seek affirmation, but quietly performs its role in the ongoing miracle of life. Even in its dreams, if sea cucumbers dream at all, there would be no chase, no flight, only motion and breath, a slow rise and fall of inner organs, a body dissolving and reforming, a world shaped by contact with the ground. There is a kind of poetry in such a life, a hum that fills the empty space between events, a song that plays beneath the louder melodies of the reef. And when it dies, it does not go quietly because it was never loud. Its body becomes food for crabs, nutrients for the sea, nourishment for corals. What was soft becomes softer. What was moving becomes still. And yet, even this ending carries the mark of renewal. From its passing, others rise. From its absence, the cycle finds new beginning. In cultures across the Pacific, the sea cucumber has long been more than food. It is a symbol of renewal, of softness with strength, of generosity without demand. Fishermen who understand its role know to harvest carefully, to leave enough behind for the reef to recover. In certain places, community traditions protect the waters where sea cucumbers feed, not because they are valuable in currency, but because they are valuable in continuity. And in recent years, science has begun to reveal even more. Researchers now study compounds from the sea cucumber's body for medicine, molecules that may fight infection, soothe inflammation, repair tissue. The creature that heals the ocean may one day help heal us too. And yet, even if it never gave us these gifts, it would still be enough. Its quiet labor beneath the waves is reason enough to honor it. In sanctuaries where reefs are recovering, the sea cucumber is often among the first to return. Its presence signals not just health but hope, a future in motion, even if slow. A kind of faith that does not speak in words but in consistent movement day after day, grain by grain. A resilience shaped not by resistance but by acceptance. You do not need to be fast to matter. You do not need to shine to be seen. You only need to continue. This is the message the sea cucumber seems to carry in every inch of its strange, soft frame. It is not here to impress. It is here to endure. Now imagine being still beside one. The light has faded above. The reef settles into night. Bioluminescent plankton twinkle at the edges. And there, just beside you, the sea cucumber inches forward, its skin catching the last glow of fading light. You reach out not to touch, but to understand. To feel, even for a moment, what it means to move with such calm certainty. Your own breath slows. You begin to notice the current brushing your arms, the whisper of water across rock, the subtle texture of the sand. The sea cucumber continues, unaware of your presence but somehow inviting you to join it, to become part of its rhythm, to remember how to move without rushing, to exist without proving. In this moment, nothing is required of you. You are simply here, witnessing, breathing, belonging. Let that feeling stay. Let it guide you long after the reef fades from view. You do not need to sprint. You do not need to sparkle. You only need to move forward slowly, softly, faithfully. Like the sea cucumber, you are part of the great breathing of the world, and somewhere beneath the waves it still moves. It still breathes. And because it does, so can we. Far beneath the surface, where the water darkens to indigo and the pressure becomes the weight of forgotten time, something vast moves with the patience of planets. It does not rise quickly. It does not turn sharply. It drifts like memory, slow and sure, leaving behind a wake that curls through the silence. This is the whale, not just a creature but a presence. It is not defined by its size alone, but by the space it holds in the ocean's stillness, and by the ancient music it sends through the deep, songs that travel farther than light, softer than thought. The whale breathes air just like we do. It must surface to fill its lungs. But between those breaths it becomes something else, something entirely of the water. It slips beneath with barely a ripple, its body sculpted for stillness, its tail like a wide, slow metronome. And then once deep enough, it vanishes into the world of sound. Because in the ocean, where light cannot travel far, it is not sight that connects things. It is song. Whales sing, not just to communicate but to exist. The humpback composes elaborate patterns, long phrases that rise and fall like symphonies, each sequence repeated with delicate intention. The blue whale calls in low, slow pulses, so deep they can travel hundreds of miles through water, felt more than heard. The sperm whale clicks in sequences, staccato bursts that seem to echo from skull to skull. These are not simple signals, they are expressions, identifiers, possibly even memories passed from one generation to another through vibration. And yet the singer is almost always hidden. The sound arrives before the body. A whale can be miles away and still speak to another as if side by side. Imagine calling into the dark, not knowing where your voice will go, but singing anyway, because that is what keeps you connected. That is what reminds you you're not alone. For some species, these songs are seasonal. Males sing during breeding months, hoping their calls carry to those unseen. Others sing year-round with variations that shift slowly across oceans. Some pods share dialects, subtle differences in rhythm or tone that mark them as kin. And still, no one fully knows what each song means. We have guesses, courtship, navigation, social cohesion, but much of it remains mystery, even to the scientists who have listened for decades. What we do know is that the song itself is beautiful, not in the way music is beautiful on land, with melody and harmony crafted by hands, but in the way a glacier is beautiful, in the way a distant storm feels beautiful when it hums across the plains. A whale's song is not decoration, it is environment. To swim through, it is to move through the body of another's thought. And even the silence of whales feels like a form of communication. Long pauses between phrases, gentle rests before another note. It is not silence as absence, it is silence as space. The ocean allows for that. It does not demand constant sound. It honors the hush between things. The body of the whale reflects its song, smooth, immense, yet capable of astonishing grace. A blue whale's heart beats only a few times per minute when diving, conserving energy for the depths. Its tail moves in slow, even strokes. It can glide for minutes without a single breath, a single sound. And in that silence, the sound it once made continues, rippling outward into the dark. There are stories of divers who have encountered whales by chance, the enormous forms drifting nearby, shadows larger than boats. And yet the whales do not threaten. They turn gently. They regard with a quiet eye, some even approach, not in aggression but in curiosity, a touch of the fin, a brush of current. And then they're gone again, leaving behind only a tremble in the water and the echo of something wordless. And in this silence, in this slowness, is a kind of reverence. The whale reminds us what it means to live at a different scale. Time slows, sound stretches, the moment deepens. To share space with a whale is to share space with the ocean's oldest thoughts. Whales are not new. Their ancestors once walked on land, hoofed mammals that returned to the water millions of years ago. Slowly, their limbs became fins, their nostrils migrated to the top of their heads, their bodies stretched and streamlined. They did not rush this change. Evolution allowed them to reshape themselves to fit the sea, not by force, but by patience. And now they belong more fully to the water than they ever did to the shore. Some whales dive thousands of feet in search of squid, holding their breath for over an hour. Others skim the surface in long arcs, mouths open to filter krill through baleen plates. Each species has its own rhythm, its own path, but all of them return to the surface. All of them must breathe. And so every dive ends with that moment, lungs filling with air, a plume of mist rising into the sky, the sound of life reconnecting with the wind. Even in their size, whales are gentle. They do not trample, they do not dominate the reef. They move with consideration, with awareness of the space around them. Mothers guide calves with nudges. Males chase with long, elegant motions. Calves rest beside their mothers, floating like ideas that have not yet formed into words. The bond between them is touch, sound, presence. And still, for all we know, we've only touched the surface. Much of a whale's life remains hidden. What happens beneath the ice shelves? What do they dream of when they sleep in slow spirals? Do they remember songs from decades ago? Do they feel the absence of a pod member who no longer sings? We do not know, but we continue to listen. We place microphones beneath the waves. We follow their migrations. We analyze their harmonics, not to capture their secrets, but to remain in conversation, to show that we are still listening, that even across the vastness of language and species, we hear them. And they perhaps hear us too. Now close your eyes. Imagine the dark blue beneath the world, and somewhere in it, a long, slow note begins. It rises through the water, it passes you, wraps around you. You are not afraid. You are not alone. That sound is a hand reaching from a being you may never see. A call that says, I am here. I am still here. And so are you, floating, breathing, listening to the song beneath silence, a song that never needed words. Let us drift deeper now into the layers of sound that hold the ocean together like threads in a quilt. The whale's song is not simply background, it is structure, it is pulse, it is memory. Beneath the waves, sound travels 4 times faster than in air, moving through salt and pressure with clarity that defies distance. A single note from a blue whale can echo for hundreds of miles, crossing entire basins, bending with the shape of the earth. It is not just communication, it is mapping. It is remembering. It is a voice wrapped around the ocean's shape. For whales, sound is not something added to life. It is woven through their very existence. Baleen whales like the humpback, the fin, the blue sing with low frequencies that ripple like slow thunder. Toothed whales like the sperm and orca use bursts, clicks, whistles, pulses that form patterns like Morse code etched in water. These clicks bounce off objects, returning images in sound. With each echo, the whale sees. A landscape appears not in sight but in sonar. A three-dimensional world built of time, of pressure, of returning sound. And inside this invisible world, whales move with grace born of confidence. They dive, turn, rise again, guided by echoes. They do not see coral or fish or the sea floor with eyes alone. They hear them. They feel their shapes in waves of returning sound. In a world with little light, this becomes vision. This becomes truth. The sperm whale, the deepest diver among them, descends over a mile beneath the surface. Down there, where pressure crushes and darkness wraps every shape, it hunts by sound alone. Its clicks grow louder, faster, more focused as it nears its prey. Each burst a flashlight. Each pause a frame. It sees the squid it cannot see. It makes a picture in sound. Then it strikes, fast, deliberate, without panic. And when it rises, it is often silent again, the hunt completed in stillness. But not all sounds are for prey. Some are for presence. Whales call to one another across vast spaces, announcing themselves, maintaining bonds across distance. Mothers and calves hum to stay close. Males perform complex songs that evolve over time, as if the very structure of the melody contains meaning. Researchers have tracked these songs as they travel across ocean, pass like torches from one group to another. The melody changes subtly, notes dropped, rhythms altered, yet the pattern continues. A musical tradition with no written language, only breath and echo. Orcas, among the most social whales, live in pods with unique vocal dialects. Each family speaks with its own rhythm, its own signature whistles and calls. These sounds define identity. Young orcas learn their family's song from birth. When they meet other pods, they can tell who is kin, who is stranger. And in these distinctions, culture emerges, not just instinct, but learned behavior passed down across generations. This culture shapes more than sound. It guides hunting techniques, migration paths, even play. Some orca pods beach themselves briefly to catch seals, a skill taught from elder to calf. Others herd fish into tight balls before striking. Each method, each tradition, survives through sound, the spoken record of memory in the sea. And yet the ocean has grown louder. Human activity, ships, drills, sonar, fills the water with noise that confuses, drowns, or even harms these delicate conversations. Whales that once could hear each other across continents now find their calls lost beneath the churn of propellers. Some grow quiet, some change their pitch, some leave altogether, a silence not born of peace but of intrusion. Still, whales adapt. They shift their calls. They sing at night when the noise is less. They navigate new routes, but adaptation is not the same as comfort, and every note changed is a step away from something ancient. The songs continue, but the choir strains to hear itself. In protected waters, researchers place hydrophones, underwater microphones, to listen without disturbing. They map the songs, track the changes, try to understand what is lost and what survives. And in those recordings, the ocean's memory lives on. Decades of whale speech stored as digital echoes, songs that rise and fall like breath held in blue. There are stories told through these songs. Some call them love songs, others territory claims, but perhaps they are more than either. Perhaps they are affirmations of presence. I am here, I am alive. This is my water, this is my sound, a note not meant to dominate but to exist. Imagine a calf swimming close to its mother. It hears her voice, low and rhythmic, wrapping around it like a lullaby. It learns that voice before it learns the current. It knows that call before it knows itself. And as it grows, it begins to answer, first with mimicry, then with variation. A language shaped not by grammar but by trust. Some whales live decades, others more than a century. A bowhead whale born in Arctic waters today may still be singing songs it learned before the invention of the telephone. A whale's life is long, and so are its memories. Perhaps it remembers roots passed down through generations. Perhaps it hears songs sung by great-grandparents in frequencies the human ear cannot detect. The sea holds these layers. The whales carry them. Even when they surface, their silence remains eloquent. A blue whale rises, exhales a towering spout, then slips beneath again. It does not shout, it does not stay, but in that moment something in the water changes. You feel its passing in your chest, in the way the waves move afterward. Its song may have ended hours before, but the echo remains. Now imagine floating above such a giant. You do not see it at first, but you feel the water shift, slow, deepen, then a shape, then a shadow, then the whale itself moving beneath you like a mountain. You hear nothing, but somehow you understand everything. It speaks through its presence, through the silence that only great size can afford. Let yourself rest in that silence. Let your mind become wide, slow, filled with long notes and open water. There is no rush here, no expectation, only the sea. Only the breath of creatures who sing not to be heard, but because the song is the ocean's way of remembering itself. Somewhere beneath you the whale turns. Somewhere its voice begins again. And now let us follow the final note of the whale's long traveling song as it fades into stillness, not ending but folding into the quiet that always waits beyond the last sound. The whale continues, deep below, swimming in slow arcs beneath the sea's fabric. Its journey never begins with destination. Its turning is not haste. Its course is drawn by memory, shaped by pressure, sound, temperature, and something older still, perhaps instinct, perhaps inherited silence. But always, it moves as though the sea itself is listening. To share space with a whale is to share space with scale. Its body stretches longer than a school bus, its mass a moving shadow that bends light. And yet there is no crashing through the reef, no careless motion. When it dives, it does so with elegance. When it surfaces, it does so with grace. The splash of a tail is less violence than punctuation. A breath released into the sky, a moment that connects air and ocean in one silver plume. The blue whale, the largest animal to ever live on Earth, sings in a voice that dips beneath the human range. We cannot hear it directly, but the ocean hears. And perhaps the seafloor, shaped by eons of sound, remembers each song in its grains. The whale is not shouting, it is resonating. Its sound is not a line, but a circle, returning again and again through the vast salt corridors of the sea. And in the stillness between notes, the meaning rests. The pauses in whale song are as crucial as the sounds themselves, a message in quiet, a rhythm built of breath, a signal that presence continues even when sound stops. This is how the whale teaches, not through explanation but through example. You do not need to be loud to be heard. You do not need to be constant to be known. Some whales travel thousands of miles in a single migration, from feeding grounds in the cold to birthing waters in the warm tropics. They carry their young through vast tracts of silence, feeding them with milk rich in warmth, guiding them with clicks and touch. The calf learns the world by watching its mother, where to dive, when to rise, how to listen. These are lessons without words, and yet they last a lifetime. Over time, the calf grows strong. It begins to echo, to call, to find its own voice beneath the waves, not to mimic but to become. Its song, shaped by the pod, the sea, the journey, will one day become part of the ocean's living memory. In this way, whales do not just inhabit the sea, they add to it. Each note, each path, each movement becomes part of the water's knowing. And yet even giants grow old. Some whales bear the scars of propellers, the stains of oil, the changes of warming water. Their songs shift. Their roots stretch longer, their prey harder to find, but still they go on. A single fin moves. A single eye watches. A single call rings out into the deep, and with it the story continues. Some scientists believe whales grieve. They have been observed holding their dead, lifting lost calves toward the surface, circling one another in slow, mournful spirals. Others gather around these rituals, quiet and still. No one can say what passes between them, but the ocean in that moment feels heavier, as though the sound itself has stopped breathing. And then, eventually, a song begins again, not to replace the loss but to carry it. To float above such a moment is to understand time differently. You are not in hours but in tides, not in minutes but in motion. The whale does not mark its life by calendars, but by songs sung and distances crossed. Its days are not measured by clocks, but by how far its voice travels before it returns. There are whales alive today older than our tallest buildings. Some bowhead whales may be over 200 years old, their bodies carrying centuries of current, ice, and memory. They have outlived storms and ships. They have survived the whaling age, resurfacing with harpoons still lodged deep in their blubber, healed around the wound. They are not symbols. They are witnesses. And through all of it they sing. You might never see a whale in the wild. You might never hear its call with your own ears, but you are connected to it nonetheless. Through the water that wraps the earth, through the quiet that rests beneath every wave, through the knowing that somewhere, deep and slow, something vast continues to breathe. You can imagine it now, a great shape rising in the twilight water, the sea dim, soft with plankton. The whale breathes, exhaling a long plume of mist. You are nearby, suspended in the same salt. You do not speak, you do not move, but you listen, not with your ears but with your being. And the whale's presence becomes a song in your chest, a memory not remembered but felt. In that moment, everything becomes simple. There is only motion, only breath, only the slow turning of a world that sings not for performance but because it must. And when the whale disappears again into the blue, the silence it leaves behind is not empty. It is full of meaning, full of memory, full of peace. So let that peace remain. Let it hold you gently. Let the whale's long, low music echo in your thoughts as you drift. The ocean is vast, but the song is always near. You do not need to understand it. You only need to hear it. Somewhere the whale still sings, and in its voice the sea remembers you too. Out beyond the blue air, past clouds and silence, there is dust drifting in darkness. Not the kind that gathers on shelves or clings to shoes, but ancient electric specks, grains of carbon, metal, and ice, that float through the vastness of space like forgotten seeds. Each speck, too small to see on its own, carries the memory of stars. The same dust that settles on the rings of Saturn once drifted near Earth's moon, once glowed in the cradle of galaxies. It is quiet, weightless, slow. And yet it holds the power to build worlds. In the beginning, before Earth had oceans, before the sun burned steadily, there was only this: Dust and gas, stirred by gravity, shaped by heat, swirled into ribbons by invisible hands. There was no direction, no plan, only possibility. And then something moved. A ripple, a pull, a place where dust began to gather, clump, press inward. What seemed like chaos became dance. What was scattered began to spin. And from that spin, something beautiful began to take form. This is how planets are born, not in fire alone, but in patience. A slow stitching together of dust grains, each drawn to the next by forces older than time. Some collided and stuck, others shattered, but their fragments returned to the swirl. Over millions of years, those tiny gatherings grew, pebble to rock, rock to boulder, boulder to mountain, drifting in the dark. And still they orbited, spun, reached toward each other. Slowly they became something new, a planet in the making. The Earth, your home, began this way. Not as a finished world, but as a collection of drifting dust. The atoms in your bones once floated free in space. They belonged to no one. They were the dust of ancient stars, supernovas that exploded long before Earth formed, scattering elements into the galaxy like a sigh across a field. Iron, calcium, oxygen, all began as stardust. All were gathered, grain by grain, into this place, into this life. And even now that dust has not disappeared. It still falls silently through the atmosphere. Every day, thousands of tons of space dust drift down to Earth. Some of it lands on oceans. Some settles on rooftops. Some gathers in the folds of mountain snow or hides in deep-sea sediments. You may have touched it without knowing, brushed it from your coat, inhaled it in a breeze, watched it glitter in a shaft of light. Each grain has traveled for millions of years. Some left comets or asteroid belts. Some wandered from stars no longer burning. They are not fast. They do not glow with speed. But they arrive. They always arrive. In the cold places of space, the dusty nebulae between stars, new stories are still beginning. There the dust drifts thick as fog. Particles bump gently. Ices form on their surfaces. Light filters in faintly, filtered by clouds of carbon and water, silicates and methane. This is the nursery of planets, the womb of worlds. Scientists call these regions protoplanetary disks. But to the poet's heart, they are gardens without sound, where nothing moves quickly, yet everything changes. Inside these disks, infant stars form, first as hot cores, then as burning spheres. Their heat reshapes the dust. Radiation pushes some particles away, while gravity pulls others inward. Rings of dust form around them, thin and shining. And within those rings, new planets begin to coalesce. We have seen these disks with telescopes, seen the shadows of gaps where future planets already shape the light. And all of it begins with dust. The beauty lies in the slowness, in the refusal to rush. There is no instant transformation, no sudden spark, just the deep, long patience of nature gathering itself, a quiet kind of becoming. In your body there are elements made in stars, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your breath, all once drifted in interstellar space. The dust that built the Earth also built you. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are a continuation of its rhythm. And perhaps that rhythm still lives in your quiet moments, the stillness before sleep, the long breath during a walk, the gaze upward on a cloudless night. There is a reason you feel small and full of wonder when you look at the stars. Your body remembers. The dust in your cells remembers. It has heard the language of galaxies. It knows the weightlessness of the void. Somewhere in a system not yet named, dust is gathering again. A new planet, perhaps. A future home for winds and rivers, for light and time. We may never see it, but it will come to be just as we did. Slowly, gently, certainly. Now imagine yourself not as a person, but as a grain of cosmic dust, floating in the dark, warmed by distant starlight, pulled slowly toward others. You drift without fear. There is no direction, only pull. Others join you. You gather. You become part of something larger, not quickly, not loudly, but truly. Let that image hold you. Let it remind you that everything begins small, that even the mightiest planet began as drifting dust, that even your life, your thoughts, your moments, each one began with something quiet. Somewhere above you, space dust still falls, invisible and constant. It lands on mountaintops, on oceans, on rooftops and skin. It brings with it the past, and perhaps the beginnings of something not yet known. The universe builds with patience, so can you.